cold, blustery evening. Gosh, we got spoiled with our nice, calm winter that was more like summer, and now we have winter. We are just delighted to have a local person coming and talk to us who has strong family ties to our historical society. We have a grandmother and a mother that are members, and so we are delighted to have Ben here. I'm not going to introduce him. I'll let Siobhan do that. Well, in fact, Siobhan, do you want me to talk about that? We're not 100% sure about who. We have several people for next month.
Yeah.
We have several people that would be available for next month, but we haven't decided. So stay tuned. We are, if you don't belong, talk to somebody who does, because they get the newsletter, and the newsletter says who is going to be on next month. But without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Siobhan, who is our program chairman.
Ben?
Hi. First of all, if you haven't signed in, please make sure you do. When I asked Ben to send over a little bio, he was real cute, hence the picture. But he also said that he had nearly 2 decades of professional experience in the wastewater collections and reclaimed water industry. And he has served with the City of Lancaster Utility Services Department, where he was responsible for 434 miles of sewer and infrastructure and 15 miles of reclaimed water pipeline. And he is now the Assistant General Manager of Roseman Community Services District. And that gives him the credential to speak. But as Gretchen said, there is so much more. And he sent me a cute little note afterwards. And he said, really, I would not be where I am without our family, without my grandma, without my mom. His family moved here in 1957 and instilled in him a deep need to provide service to the community that has given him so much. And that was really what he wanted to convey. So the facts are nice, but the story behind it is equally as good. And then he also said that he is married to his loving wife, Sarah, and is the proud father of 3 sons. So that is his true calling. And we'll throw in a little bit of water. And so what started this was my husband and I were out driving around in the desert, and there was a sign, a big gated area that said, "Do not enter." And I was like a moth to a flame. And it said RCSD, and I had no idea that there was this plant out there. So I think that is such an important part of history, to follow curiosity and to find out where it goes. And Ben has been wonderful with breaking this down for a very novice person as to how these things happen. And those of you that saw our flyer, and I said Ben would be talking about S asterisk, 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 asterisk that runs downhill. So those of you that have a spelling problem, that is stuff. There were lots of asterisks in there. So Ben, I will let you take it away from here.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to use the mic, see if you guys can hear me. Is anybody that can't hear me right now? I'll try to use the mic, but all right, that's better? All right, let's go with that. So I'm going to start off. So yes, I was with the city of Lancaster for almost 20 years. I was over 17 staff members where we took care of the sewer, storm drain, and reclaimed water, 434 miles of sewer, and over 9,300 manholes. Just for a reference, Roseman has 75 miles of sewer. So, and we have 15 miles of reclaimed water pipe. Roseman has 103 miles of water pipe. So I kind of switched it. But, so we're going to start. The title of the presentation is From Toilet to Tap, not the other way around. We're not going from tap to toilet, not toilet to tap. You don't want to go the other way around. Okay? So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the water distribution system, the water treatment, water regulations that's led us, the sewer system, and the wastewater treatment plant. How does it work? Magic. Thank you guys for coming out. We'll sit down. Okay. First thing we're going to start off with, there is no new water. I always relate this to land. Growing up, my grandmother and Jim Wilford always said, buy as much land as you can. God isn't making it anymore. It's the same thing with water. There is no new water. There's water that's associated to land, so you can buy the water rights, but there is no new water. So this is a very basic overview of the water cycle. And we're going to go through it. You'll see that we do not have surface flows that come down. We are predominantly groundwater. But this is the complete water cycle. Again, there is no new water. How much water does Roseman use? So we are projected to use 2,400 acre feet a year. I'm a very visual person. Somebody tells me that, I have no idea what that means. So let's do the math. An acre foot is 850 gallons of water. So if we do the math, that's 782 million gallons of water. That's a lot of water, but I still don't quite understand how much water that is. That's enough water to fill the Rose Bowl 9.25 times. And that's what our town uses. In a year. Where does our water come from? Like I said, we use prominently groundwater. So the aquifer is an aquifer that's between the surface, and this is very basic, I did not go into great detail. It's between the surface and impenetrable rock, and it comes up through wells. We're going to keep talking about this. We also, down at the bottom, a little asterisk, there's always asterisks. In the case of emergencies, we do have access to Antelope Valley East Kern Water Agency, or AVEC. Time out. We're an adjudicated basin. What does that mean? People have read about it in the papers. We're not getting political, but we're going to talk about it real fast. What is an adjudicated basin? Adjudicated basin. So in 2015, the AV groundwater basin was found to be an overdraft. That means we were taking more water than we were putting in. So the water levels were going down. So some people, their wells weren't deep enough anymore. The water was not going to the bottom of the straw. Reduce historical groundwater pumping to sustainable product rights. And then pre-adjudication. So again, we were anticipating using 2,400 acre feet. At the end of the judge ruling, we had 404 acre feet. That's how much water we were allowed to take out of the ground. So we were in a deficit. We didn't have enough water. And it's a ramp down period, which means they say at this point, you're going to start going down to this point. Good frame of reference. Again, I work for Lancaster. 404 acre feet is almost the exact same number that they have just for the soccer field out in Lancaster, for that big soccer complex on 30th East. So our whole little town was supposed to use as much as they use for watering soccer. Doesn't make sense. There's a reason to it. So this is what they call the adjudicated basin. You can see we are somewhere right here. That line in the middle is the 14 freeway. So that's the entire adjudicated basin. And you see right here, that blue line, that's the California Aqueduct. So what is our basin? It's pretty much, oops, let me go back. It's pretty much a bowl, and everybody that's pumping water out has a straw. This is our aquifer. There's another, every straw that's coming in, taking the water out. Did you know, like I said, Roseman had only 404 acre-feet of water rights? We, at the end of all of our totals, we were only allowed to pump 668, so we were in a deficit of 1,732 acre-feet. So that means the magic wasn't going to work at some point. Your faucet wasn't going to come on, you try to flush the toilet, there'd be no water to push it down. So we needed to do something about it. But we'll get to that. This is how the water distribution system works. It's a very basic drawing to understand. Now, you'll see it does show a water source. We really don't do that here, but we do have wells, and then it goes into the treatment plant, which we actually don't do a treatment plant here. I'll explain that later. It comes in, goes into our storage tanks, booster pumps, and it goes out to your guys' houses. So like I said, we have 103 miles of pipe and 5 tanks. So this is a big overview of the town of Roseman. You'll see the orange is actually our jurisdictional lines, and the blue is the water lines, where we actually have water lines at right now. So frame of reference, here's 60th Street, and then this is actually paralleling the line for Edwards all the way to Dawn Road, and then this is Avenue A. Now you'll see we do have lines that go past our jurisdiction. It's called a sphere of influence. So this is about half of what our sphere of influence is. We say that we can produce water and give it to everybody all the way out to 90th if we ever put the infrastructure in, which will take a lot. Okay. So this is a part of a pump, and so this, or a well, this is how we get the water out of the ground for you guys. So you'll see this is the motor on top. It turns the shaft. This brings the water in through the sandy aquifer. So this is your aquifer here. The water comes through. And this spins, sucks the water up, and comes out. And this is a casing. This is a sanitary seal. It's about 50 feet deep. And it goes on each side. It's so that like pollution and stuff can't come in through the top and make our water nasty while we're pumping it out. We have 2 wells. Well number 9. It's the main well. It's the well that's doing most of the stuff, supplying most of the water for Roseman. It was drilled in 2005. It's 512 feet deep, and it has a 16-inch casing. That's a 16-inch diameter, and it does anywhere from 800 to 1,550 gallons per minute. And the thing there says VFD, means variable frequency drive, and it's just kind of like turning your faucet on. Do you turn your faucet on full blast, or do you kind of ease it on? So depending on what we need, how much water we need, we can set the pump to come on high, half, whatever it is. So it's a variable frequency drive. It's so the power doesn't go from 0 to 100. We kind of ramp it up. And this one is located at 58th Street West in Gaskell Road. This one is well 8. This used to be our primary well until we got well 9. And this one was drilled in 1993. It is also 527, the other one was 520, and this one's a little bit smaller. It's got a 15.5-inch casing, and it's 600 to 1,200 gallons per minute with the VFD. And this one's at 47th in Gaskell. Now, this one is only used during peak demand. What does peak demand mean? It's only used during the summer when people are watering their grass and playing on the slip and slide and everything. For 9-10 months out of the year, well 9 can handle the whole system. But when we get in the heat of the summer and everybody's watering their grass, we have to turn this one on. What is treatment? So we do treat the water, but it's not like a treatment plant. So this, we actually use chlorine injection, which is actually bleach, and it treats the water. And so just to explain what that means, so we dose the chlorine, we use chlorine to dose it for disinfection. The demand is how much chlorine is used for disinfecting in the disinfecting process, and the residual is how much chlorine is remaining to prevent bacteria growth. So we have chlorine at both pumps, and when it comes in, it goes through, it cleans the water as it comes through, and then it also goes all the way up to each end of the water center, and it keeps the water clean as you guys are using it, so that if water sits there for too long, it degrades and can grow bacteria. But since we have chlorine in there, it keeps it clean. Nobody's busting their pillows out or blankets falling asleep yet? I'm trying, guys. Okay, so here's one that I got to explain. This one is called blending. So it is a part of treatment. And what it means is if your water, like this well is high in this level on whatever it is, some form of bacteria, you can say arsenic, you can say another one we're going to talk about in a minute. But this one's low, you can blend them to achieve that goal. So we do actually do blending when well 8 comes online, because it's an older well, so it's higher in other levels, but it blends with well 9 to meet the state requirements. Here's going to be the good one. Who got the letter in the mail about chromium-6? Okay, everybody got it. And not just Roseman, Quartz Hill, Lancaster, Palmdale. I'll explain it. So everybody sees chromium-6, and this is what they see. They see Aaron Barakovich, we're all going to die, there's cancer. So actually, in our area, it occurs naturally. Well 9 is at 11 parts per billion. So you got 1 billion parts of water, and 11 of them have chromium-6 in them. Or it's a level 11 of chromium-6. That. Okay? Hinkley was at 850, or 850, I read that backwards, 580. And that was due to pollution. It wasn't naturally occurring. California has changed their MCL from 50 to 10. So until last year, we were completely compliant, no problems. So now we're 1 point above. And now the EPA, this is the federal level, they're at 100 for chromium-6 and chromium-3. So if we were not living in California, living anywhere else in the United States, we'd be fine by a lot. But you guys know how California is. They go to the extremes. My suggestion would be do your own research and look into it. Currently, RCSC is exploring options for the treatment prior to the October 2027 deadline. So we are in compliance. We are working towards that being 1 point lower by October 2027, at least 1 point lower. Okay, so this is how your residential system works. So this is our main line where all the water comes in. We have valves where we can shut certain valves off if we need to do a repair. And then this is a saddle. This is where they put the line in and they cut a little hole, and then the water comes up your service line and it goes into your meter box, and then on that side it's all your responsibility, it goes to your house. And then you got fire hydrants. You see fire hydrants are not on meters because it's against the law to meter fire hydrants. Now here in Roseman we have the majority of our water lines are actually PVC, polyvinyl chloride, and also we have concrete pipe. So if we go back up one, so that would be these guys right here, PVC and concrete. And now the next one I'm going to talk about is your service line. And those are generally either copper or poly. So if you're driving down the road through a neighborhood and you see that square that's in the road, like some asphalt that's different than the other, that means there was a leak. And either something damaged this, and that could be foreign material from during the construction of the housing project, or somebody was digging in the street to run a phone line, or not phone line, like a, I don't know, power, we don't have fiber optics here. But they can hit it, or they can backfill with dirty dirt, and then it will work its way as the trash trucks drive over, and it will cut a hole in the line and we'll have a link. So we either have copper or poly. All right, let's talk about tanks, the exciting stuff. Okay, so this is tank number 1. This is not the oldest tank. I'm not the one that named these. But they call this one tank number 1. It's 500 gallons, which means 0.5 MGD. MGD means million gallons per day. So this one holds up to 5 million gallons. It was built in 1984, and it's located off Haven Street and the 14 freeway, between the freeway and Sierra Highway. Point of reference, you're on the freeway. That's that tank to the right. So this is tank 1, it's 500 gallons. Tank 2, I could not get a good picture of it because there's a big mountain in the way, and Google Earth does not drive up down dirt roads. So I referenced tank 1, and that's tank 2. So this one's 1 million gallons. Again, tank 2 was built before tank 1. I wasn't the one that numbered them. 1977, and I did not fix that. That is not Haven Street and the 14 freeway. That was I need to fix that. But it's right over here. This is 20th Street up here. Tank 3 is one of the biggest ones we have. It's 2 million gallons. And it was built in 1990. It's at the north end of 30th Street West, behind the high school. And then tank 4 is at the top of United Street, or 10th Street West. That one's up there. That one is 1 million gallons as well, or 1 million gallons, is built in 1990, and it serves a higher elevation. So the pumps, which are way over here, would have to be running constantly to make sure the water can make it up this hill all the way to here. So what they do is, for this housing tract and other higher housing tracts, the pumps fill the tanks at nighttime while you're all sleeping, not using water. They fill the tanks up, and then when everybody wakes up and wants to take a shower and flush the toilet and do all that stuff in the morning, do laundry, the tanks help support the water system. So the pumps stay on and they keep supplying water, but the tanks slowly drain down so that we can make sure that you guys have enough water so the magic keeps working. And then tank 5. Now tank 5 is another big one. It's 2 million gallons. It's built in 1994, and it is about 420 feet west of the freeway on Dawn Road. Ben, there's nothing out there. There's tank 5, and that's the inside. Does anybody know what the purpose of tank 5 was? There was a proposed track in 1992 called Desert Highlands, 1,500 homes, and they were going to build on the backside of the mountain. It was going to be a golf course, 1,500 homes, a gas station, a whole thing. And they put the water line in and the tank in and never used it. So it was been out of service until this last year. We have just started putting it back in service. We have one customer on it right now. And in the future, there's going to be a whole housing development on it that's existing. They're coming online. So they're coming off their small little personal wells, and they'll be coming online to this. All right, so I'd like to talk about the guys that work for Rosemond, and ladies. So this is the wastewater and collections crew. So this is Juan De La Rosa. That's him right here. He's in the command center. He is our chief distribution operator. He's the guy that takes water samples and sends them in. He goes out to the well sites every day, make sure everything's working. He uses this stuff right here. This is called SCADA, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. So you can't see it very well, but you see this little green dot where I'm pointing? That's well 9. That green dot's on, that means well 9's pumping. This one's well 8, and it's not pumping because it's not hot right now. So we're not using it. And then well 5 is the old well off 20th Street that's discontinued, we're not using. But you can see up here we have the tanks. That's United Street. This is probably tank 1, and then this should be tank 3. So, and he can see the whole system. We have a lot of valves that he can turn off manually or automatically from here at this desk. And then Larry Warren is our supervisor. Matt Walton's the lead. And then this is the crew: Tim, Jamie, Tom, Dago, Danny, and Steve Tapia. As you can see, this is them working on well 9 a couple months ago. They're fixing the valve. And then this here is actually them doing one of those service line changeouts like I was talking about. They had to do a complete one, so you don't see that normal little square, you see the whole thing. And that's a repair to a main line they're doing there. Okay, so what does it take to become a water operator? So you can start off with water distribution. It requires a high school diploma and a 36-hour contact water course, and then you take tests. And then as you see, you go down, you need more courses, you need more experience, more on-the-job training before you can move on to the next one. So Juan, actually several of our guys are D4, so we can't go to D5 because our system isn't big enough. They won't let us. But we have, I think we have 1 or 2 D1s, but almost everybody's either D2 or D3, and then our lead guys like Larry and Matt and Juan are all D4. So that's required by the state for water distribution. Water treatment, there's no required experience, but you have to pass the exam. And then you must have the T2 or T3s for water treatment. be required. And then the max we can get here is T3 in Roseman, because again, we're not big enough. And we really don't do water treatment per se. Okay. Where can you get the classes? So they teach them at ABC. The state does their own, and then these guys, I've been told, are actually out of Palmdale, but they're the ones that I actually took my classes through. So you can go online and you take the class, and then they give you a certification, you turn it in the state, and you get to go take the state test. Okay, I said in cases of emergency, we have AVEC, so I decided to tell you guys where the AVEC water comes from. So you'll see this is the AVEC service area here. We are right in here, and this is the aqueduct that brings the water down. And then they pump it out of there up to our treatment plant, the AVEC treatment plant. Where does AVEC get its water? From melting snow that produces runoff that fills lakes, rivers in Northern California. How does it get to the Antelope Valley? The California Aqueduct. Why doesn't RCSD use AVEC water full time? We did. That's why we got stuck with only 400 acre feet during the adjudication, is because when the judge went and looked at how much we were pumping out of the ground, we weren't. We were using AVEC water. So just bad luck that we used, this was the time frame they used. So we don't use it because it's cost and reliability. It costs us roughly, and these are rough numbers, under $100 to pump an acre foot of water out of the ground. If we were to buy the acre foot from AVEC, it's almost 800 bucks. Because the cost for them to treat it and deliver it to us. It's got to come from Northern California and to maintain the aqueduct and then all the pumps and the treatment. It's cheaper right now for us to pump it out of the ground. And our water quality, I've heard from multiple places, multiple conferences, we have pristine water in the Antelope Valley. And that's the Keith Dias water treatment plant that's owned by AVEC. Okay? All right, now the sewer system. So this is what the sewer system looks like, and you see it's green. You guys saw I showed you the water and it was blue? That's, you ever see the spray paint on the ground? You see the blue marks and the green marks and the yellow and the red. So sewer is green. Storm drain is also green, but sewer is green. Blue is water, and then red is Edison or power, yellow is gas. So it's pretty self-explanatory for me, but this is the overview. And you'll see that we actually, the other one had water going here. I didn't overlay them because it'd be hard for you guys to look at, but this is our sewer system. You'll see there's a red line over here. I'll explain that later. But how the sewer system works, it works on gravity. It's not like the water system where it pushes it with pumps. It runs on gravity, aka S asterisk, 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 rolls downhill. So very basic, this is the house. So when you flush the toilet, wash your hands, or use the tub. This is your home lateral. You have a clean out, and we have a clean out right here at the street. Now, so this is an upper lateral, as they call it, and this one right here is the lower lateral. So it's from the back of sidewalk, roughly, property line, down to the sewer system. So this is the lower, this is the upper. This is all the homeowner's responsibility to this point right here as the point of connection. Some cities do take the part in the street, but that would result in higher costs, maintenance, and how could I clean this part of your lateral without going onto your property? And now I gotta fix grass, concrete, everything. And majority of the time, the problem isn't in there. So this is the sewer main line. These are what sewer manholes, how sewer manholes are made. So it was an art back in the day. There are no new brick manholes. They are all precast concrete. These are two different designs. This is called a concentric or concentric manhole, and this is an eccentric manhole. And the way I remember that is this looks like a cone, and this one looks like you put an E backwards in there. But they both have a frame, a cover or lid and then they have a frame or a ring. They call them the same thing. And then this is your chimney, and this is your cone, and this is your barrels. This is your shelf. Sorry, there's no Ninja Turtles. They're not that big. The average size we have here is 8-inch. The biggest size we have is going out to the treatment plant. I believe it's 48-inch. So no one's riding a skateboard down this. This is 8 inches. And this is what the majority of the pipe we have in the land is. Again, PVC, it's used here. It usually comes in 20-foot sticks. This is VCP. This is what I like the most. This is vitrified clay pipe. This usually lasts about 50 years. Truss pipe. This is kind of like thin wall plastic that they have little ribs in and they fill with concrete or mortar. This lasts about 40 years. VCP, they have stuff in the ground that are almost 200 years old back east. And they keep raising the life expectancy of it. But it's more expensive. Okay, so that red line I was showing you. So this red line on Rosen Boulevard and the Apple Blossom track, this is what's called
And that's the last track.
the last track before you get out to Edwards Air Force Base. They did not have the fall, the S asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. They did not have the fall to come downhill. So what they do is it comes downhill here and comes to this lift station, which you see right here. So you'll see, comes down here, goes in the lift station, and there's floats in there, and once the water gets to a certain level, it turns on and pumps it uphill. So from the Apple Blossom Street, it pumps it all the way uphill to the United or 10th Street West road, and then it goes out to the treatment plant. So that's a force main. Now the wastewater plant, it doesn't look like much.
But it's got a very nice fence.
Yeah, it does have a very nice fence. You want to keep people out of it. So this is what it really looks like. The wastewater treatment facility, on average, receives 1.03 million gallons of sewage a day. This plant is rated for 1.29. So we're getting pretty full. We're filling up pretty quick. So we're going to start here at the headworks, right there. What are the headworks? So the headworks is where all the sewer water comes in, and it goes through these. So it comes in through here, and it hits these. These are called bar screens. Take a guess what it catches. Rags, baby wipes, plastic, or other objects that should not be flushed. Now, we talk about rags and baby wipes, and you say, Ben, it says right on the package, they're flushable. Golf balls are flushable. Doesn't mean they should be going down the sewer line. If you flip the package over, they'll have a little picture of a guy putting one in the toilet with a no mark through it, and it says, call your local jurisdiction. So they can still call it flushable. It doesn't mean it's supposed to be flushed. So what happens, it comes in here, and it clogs this up, and then we pull it off and put it in the trash. But the lift station, it can clog the lift station. Pumps aren't designed to take flushable wipes. The purpose of a flushable wipe is they have little nylon fibers in them. And what that does is supposed to prevent the accidental poke through when you're using it. Well, the problem with that is I saw a demonstration where they put it in an aquarium with water, and they put the flushable wipe in there, and then they moved it up and down on motors for a year. And they pulled it out, and it was still a perfect square flushable wipe. When your toilet paper kind of dissipates within a couple seconds. There's three things you should put in the toilet, or down the toilet. Poop, pee, and paper. The 3 Ps. That's it. Okay, so this is the headworks. This is inside the headworks. So as it goes through the headworks and it comes down through here, so we have 4 pumps. So the blue pumps send the water to the overflow equalization basin, which I'll explain in a second, and the green pumps send it to the aeration basin, which starts the treatment process. Now, if one of these sets of pumps goes out, we can use the other ones to back up, so we have redundancy. Because again, people aren't going to stop pooping. It's coming no matter what. So that is the equalization basin, just like what its name is. If it can't, how do I say this? Just like the water tanks, it all comes at once, and we might not be able to handle it all at once. So we pump it out here when you guys are using, or we are all using a lot of water. We pump out half of it out here, and when everybody goes to bed, we bring it back through and bring it back in. When there's not a lot coming through, we bring it back around, and it comes back through when the plant's slower, where we don't have a lot coming in. So, or if there's an issue, like a pump goes down and we can't maintain, then we can pump it out there until we get the stuff fixed. Grit chamber. So the grit chamber is a chamber which it's underground, you can't see it, it's right in here. The grit chamber, it comes in and it swirls around. There's little fan blades in here. It swirls around, and the heavy stuff falls out towards the end and slides down, and then it gets taken out and removed. And then the clean water goes out. So this, all your eggshells, all your coffee grounds, stuff that are so small it can make it through the bar screen, this is where it ends up. It's another stage where we can catch it and throw it in the trash. So the one that we have right now is built for 500,000 gallons a day. I just showed you guys we're doing 1.03 million. So what does that mean? This thing is overworked. So that's why it goes out to the equalization until we can bring it back through. At some point, we're going to have to upgrade this because as the population grows, the ponds don't get much bigger. Okay, so the aeration basin, right there. So the aeration basin, and this is the generic terms, it's a lined pond with floating headers, suspended diffusers, assemblies, and blowers that deliver controlled dissolved oxygen levels. Ben, what does that mean? So this is what's there. So if you go back, this is where the air is turned on, this is where there is no air. And it operates in 30-minute sequences. So then this section will turn back into air, and then this one will go into no air. So as you see here, the influent comes in, no air, air, and this is what's under there, and it injects air. It converts ammonia into nitrate in the air process, aerobic process, and it reduces nitrate to nitrogen gas in the anaerobic process. This is the magic that I'm still learning. So what is in there? So these are water bugs. And what these things do is they go through and eat the nasties in the water. And these are the stalkciliates, tiny microorganisms that attach to the surface with the stalk, and they group together and they build. They bring them in, and it clumps all this stuff up, and they call it flocculation in the industry. And these little guys come through and they eat the stuff off of them. And it helps clean the water. Now, this is a clarifier. So after it comes through here, and it goes in the aeration basin, then it comes through and it goes into the clarifier. This handles 75% of the wastewater, and this handles 25% of the wastewater. And this is the clarifiers. It's a 3-stage mechanism. So we're going to start in the middle, the red stage right here. So if you looked at that water, you could not see through it. It is cloudy, it is nasty. And the water comes up, and it goes through, and the solids fall down, and the clean water goes to the next stage. And it repeats, and the whole time on the outside, there's a little skimmer that's going through, a scraper skimmer, and it's keeping the stuff moving so it doesn't just clump up, and that falls down to the bottom. So the cleanest water will go over the sides of the weir and go out to the percolation ponds, and the nasty stuff falls to the bottom, and it goes all the way back to the front of the plant. It's called RAS. And the best way I could describe it is the RAS is those little bugs that are still hungry that did not get enough food. The treatment plant operator told me the other day, if we went to your house and had Thanksgiving dinner, and after your house we decided to go to my house and have Thanksgiving dinner, we wouldn't be hungry anymore. So when they have too much of the Thanksgiving dinner or too much of the waste, it gets pushed out to the drying beds. And that happens every day. So the clarifiers make it clean, the solid waste falls to the bottom, it goes back to the headworks and comes all the way back through the process. And then when the waste gets so bad it can't get clean anymore, then we put it out in the drying beds like this here. After several weeks, it gets spread out on the drying slab, which is right here, and it gets the final thing, the final time to dry. What's the purpose of the drying slab versus drying bed? So this is a liquid. This is recessed in. It's like a little pond, and the water evaporates off and the sludge remains. And then we pull it off and we put it on here and we let it dry out, because the cost to dispose of it is based off of weight. And water weighs a lot more than, well, dry sludge weighs a lot less than wet sludge. So that's how we do that. And then after the clarifiers, the clean water, so you saw the green went to the drying beds, the clean water goes to percolation ponds over here. And what are the percolation ponds? Percolation ponds are 7.8 acre ponds. Treated water infiltrates through the soil, and soil provides pathogen reduction and nutrient polishing. So what that means is, so how we said we had our water, our rights, how much we were allowed to pump, and we purchased some water rights. So now we're getting a credit. And as we go through, we are in the green. So we have 3,400 water rights that we can pump each year, and we are only using roughly around 2,400, so we have about 1,041 water rights that we can use for other things. So the treatment plant hasn't been on for more than a couple years, so we are storing these water rights. Well, what does that mean? What can we do with that? We can sell them to other people that want to, water stuff, or they want to farm things. Or we can just bank them and then sell them to builders that want to come in and build new houses. We can sell the water rights to them cheaper than they can go out and buy water rights. So we get our money back on that. But right now we're just storing them. It's kind of like a reserve, trying to hold on to it. Okay, let me talk to you about the wastewater treatment crew. That nasty brown pond that we're showing you with the air, those guys are floating on this in the middle of that pond working on those chains. That's called the bio barge. And they're pulling each one of those chains up and working on it, making sure that it works. So the chief water treatment plant operator is Ryan Becker. He's been with the district over 20 years. His right-hand man is Sean. That's him right there. And then the two guys are Al and Brian. That's Brian right there. For a wastewater treatment plant, it's entry level. So it's a little different than what you saw with the water and distribution. So you get hired on at entry level. You don't need to have any experience. But you are not allowed to go for your Operator 1 cert unless you have a high school diploma and 1 year experience in the field. Then if you want to become an Operator 2, you have to have 18 months of full-time experience as an Operator 1. So it requires time in the field working. You can't just go challenge it. Ryan is an Operator 3, hoping to go for his 4 soon. But our treatment plant is only required for 3. Let me get a drink. Much better. Okay. Now, we have the office team. And I like to give shout outs to people because so you guys know who makes the magic work. So this is Kim Domingo, who's our general manager. Assistant general manager is here in the flesh. John Houghton requested me not to put his picture up. And then we have Sherry Tim, our director of administration. Julie Lopez, our senior accounting clerk. Vienna, she's our finance assistant. And this is Kathy. I'm going to say not Radar. And then Sandra. And then Brasida is not in the picture. So these are the people that work in our office. And that's it. That's what I got. I probably went way too fast.
A real quick second, Mac. Ben, and of course I came into this very, very ignorant of water. And I had made the assumption that the reason there was so little farming going on was because of the cost of electricity to farm it. And you said there was something different.
Yeah.
So if you could address that.
Okay. So just like us, the farmers felt the ramp down as well. So they were subject to adjudication. And from my understanding, speaking to some farmers, they cannot turn a product enough to make a profit. So now they're in the water game, which means they're either like how we have our 1,041 acre feet that we can sell or bank. They're doing that too. Some farmers left the valley, they sold their water rights off. We kind of purchased some of those, that's how we bought some extras. But also other people are doing that. New development wants to come in, they want to buy. There's no new water, guys, like I was saying. They have to go out and buy it. So some farmers left because they just decided they were going to farm somewhere else or it was time to retire. Other ones lease or sell their water rights and they just cash a check like that. So there's a lot of farmers that are just selling that. And it's cumulative, I can't talk today. Cumulative, which means, yeah, there you go, cumulative. Yeah, cumulative. So that means if you don't use it this year, you have it next year. You don't use it that year, you have it the year after that. Well, you can store it up to 10 years before you have to pay the AV Water Master a fee for storing it in the basin. So what they'll start doing is they'll start selling it off to other people so they can start using it. So yes, the farmers were actually subject to the ramp down just like us. Everybody's the same. So, any other questions? You want me to give you the mic or you just want to say it?
No,
And Ben, if you'll repeat the question.
Okay.
you stopped at the waste got dried. You're not storing it. Where's it going?
So we used to actually sell it and make it a composting, but with the requirements now.
There you go.
Thank you. Put your camera. Stage left. So we used to sell it, and we would. Kellogg was the not the farmer, but they bought it from us and they turned it into compost. You could see it at Home Depot and stuff. They don't do it anymore. Our process is so refined now with that treatment plant upgrade. It's not suitable for that anymore. We're eliminating, the bugs are so good at their jobs. We're eliminating a lot of that fecal matter that was good for growing plants. So it's now just waste.
It goes where?
That's a great question. I believe a lot of it not goes to our dump, but it goes to other dumps. I'm going to look into that. I don't actually know on that one. It goes away. That's the other side of magic. Poof. We give them a check, and then they take it. And gentleman in the back, you had a question?
Hey, Dan, just let the community know the plant we have and the system for the size we are. We've been recognized by Lahadin.
Yep.
The recognition that we've got for it because it's kind of state of the art for what we have. And I think they need to know that because this is a good education, but it all kind of goes hand in hand in the education that you gave them. Also led to the plant we have and the system we have. We've been recognized by a lot of people.
So that's a good point. Random person in the back. Director Webb. So let me explain something real quick so people understand. So you'll see that right here. And then let's see if I can go back to a higher one. Oh, wrong way. Boop, 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 boop. So before we did the plant upgrade, all right, so you can't really see it, but up here, there's these big ponds. So before it was a water treatment or wastewater treatment plant, it was just an evaporation plant. So what did that mean? All that boo-boo water went out to these ponds and just sat there. And it would evaporate. And it would go back into the water cycle. But it would take a long time. So we're just speeding it up. So what we did is we upgraded the treatment plant. And we're helping Mother Nature along. And we're one of the leaders in the industry. Our GM, one of our other directors, and the wastewater treatment plant operator, they just went and spoke at a state seminar on this. We've had multiple people wanting to come out and look at it because this is kind of what the state water board is not pushing, but saying this is an option for you because we're turning a waste into a commodity. And like I said a whole bunch of times, they're not making any more water. So instead of letting it go out and evaporate, we're speeding it up and we're able to use it faster than evaporating and going out. And then also it's technically cheaper because now the sludge mitigation, how we said that we'd go into the drying beds, there was a couple drying beds, but not much. I think these are the original drying beds here and these are the new ones. all that sludge was going into those ponds. And every couple of years, we'd have to turn this pond off and go into this pond, and we'd go into the equipment and take all that sludge off and go dispose of it. So now it's a more continuous basin or basis, and this is as much as we got to get rid of. So, but it's an amazing project. Sir.
Okay, you mentioned that there's certain times of the day that you guys have to anticipate
Yeah.
people using the water system.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that during the Super Bowl that water companies have to anticipate people flushing during halftime.
100%.
Okay.
So water companies and sewer companies. So everybody's, okay, sorry. So the question was during the Super Bowl, water companies and sewer companies have to anticipate the usage. Yeah, because everybody's watching the game, they take a break. Oh, it's a bathroom break, run to the bathroom. So more people are using the water, more people are flushing. So yes, it has to be anticipated. What they call it is a diurnal flow pattern. So while everybody wakes up in the morning around 6 o'clock, some of us wake up earlier, 6 o'clock, and they're taking the showers, and they're starting the laundry and getting ready for their day, the water usage goes up. And magically, about an hour later, now the sewer usage is going up at the same time. Well, then everybody goes to work. And then it comes down for a little lull around 10 o'clock, and then somewhere around 2:30, it starts going back up again until about 9 o'clock at night. And then everybody goes to sleep, and it drops off. So what they do is that's that overflow basin. So during the peak demand, they'll pump half of it out here, and then when you all go to sleep, except for the night owls, they let it come back through, and then it keeps the plant even. The ebbs and flows level out. So yeah, it's diurnal flow patterns.
And Ben, we've had a lot of things to do with veterans and the military and the cadet corps. You have a special tank. I'll let you tell us about which tank that is.
So tank 3 up behind the high school is Joey Pratty tank. And that's one of the ones that I know when I went to school, about once a year they'd make us run the mile. So, and that's the tank we'd run to. I guess back for the people that were here back in the day, it was an open reservoir, so you guys probably ran up there too. But that's Joey Pratty. And it's probably part of the 5K run, I'm guessing. But that's, Joey was one grade lower than me in school, so I knew him very well. So we all had to do that climb up that rocky hill every day. So is there more information you have on than I do?
If you
Get the other mic.
Oh, okay. If you get a chance, go back and look at Joey Pratty's interview. It's on our website. And his father really talked about how hard he worked to get into the Marines and his running and everything. And so running that hill was a big deal. And Sherry said that possibly the Water District might be willing to name that tank and put a painting on there.
I cannot confirm or deny, but I'll run it up the chain.
Okay. And I believe it is the 5, Mac, you would know this. What's the name of Joey's military group? Oh, gosh darn it.
I don't know what your question is.
It was like what was the, Don help me.
Fifth something.
Yeah, the 5th.
5th Marines? The 5th Marine Regiment?
Did they call it the 5-horse or?
It might be the 5-horse. When I see the thing, there's a horse. I don't know it.
Okay, well, you'll have to find that out. 'Cause
I did,
that'll have
definitely.
to be painted on there.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks. All
Ron, I'll take it. I'll take it.
right, thank you.
I have a question because I used to show film when I was a science teacher, and some of you probably had to watch it. I know the community of Santee, I mean, this was back in the 70s, had a water treatment plant, and they were doing tertiary water treatment. This is considered a secondary? Okay. Yeah, tertiary means it's drinkable when you're done. But that's really expensive and really, I think our town can't support
Yeah,
it.
no, we probably don't have the infrastructure to do it. So there's several forms. So we're doing a denitrified secondary water, which means They're taking the nitrification out. It's a secondary water. It's not meant for drinking. And there's a tertiary, which they can drink it. They can take it to drinkable levels. But we also have recycled water. And the plant, I want to say it was 2015, they did upgrade it to where they could use it for recycled water. Well, here's the problem with recycled water. The recycled water is you can't drink it. It's kind of like pool water.
That's the purple pipe.
That's the purple pipe.
Purple pipe.
So there is 2 miles of purple pipe in Rosamond. It was initially designed to run up towards Rosamond Hills and then possibly going across over to the park. But the infrastructure to take it other places wasn't there. So it was cheaper for us to upgrade the plant than run a whole nother set of water lines, as you saw the blue lines, a whole nother set of water lines all over town to deliver this water. So it's better for us to treat it and then let it percolate into the ground, and then you can pump it out, or we can pump it out and deliver it to you in the existing infrastructure.
Well, any other questions?
Yeah, Ben, before there were water tanks, can you explain? Because I've not heard the open reservoir out there.
So it's just like you're driving through town and you'll see those hills where it's a little pond. It's an open reservoir. And so though the problem with those is those are subject to people swimming in them, pollution. A tank is either, there's 3 styles. There's welded, there's bolted, and I think a concrete one. Concrete ones aren't, we live in earthquake country, concrete ones don't work great here, but welded and bolted, and so it protects them. If you'll actually notice, there is no ladders on our tanks anymore. All those got taken off because people of the younger persuasion were climbing on top and doing stuff to them, just trying to be funny, and it wasn't funny. So yeah, so a lot of those areas like tank 1 and tank 2 were actually used to be open reservoirs. And now we have tanks in them instead to protect the water so people don't pollute it.
Any other questions?
Thank you for not falling asleep.
We need to thank you very much again. Siobhan, do you have any words for next meeting or?
I will give you kind of what we're looking for the potential next 3 meetings, and I'll let you figure out which one's going to be coming up. We are hoping to get Ruben Gonzalez, good Lord, his last name just left me, I'm having a hard time. Ruben Gonzalez's family history. We are hoping to have the archaeologist that was helping us earlier talk about Lake Thompson. And we are also hoping to have the gentleman from the Mojave
Aaron Spaceport
come and speak to us.
I think he's the CEO.
Yeah, so those are the 3 that we're looking for. If you have a chain link fence with a do not disturb sign on there, do not come in, let me know. We'll go find out what's behind it. I'd love to know what's there. If you have a suggestion, itch you'd like to have scratched that you go, boy, I always wanted to know this, please let us know. We'll dig it up. We'll try and find somebody. We'll find somebody with lots of patience.
Not very entertaining, but.
No, thank you so much, Ben. Very, very good.
Again, thank you all for coming, and we hope to see you next month, 3rd Tuesday, and hopefully it won't be so cold again.
Yeah.